Okay, I hope I'm audible to all the students who are attending this lecture of Intermediate Macroeconomics, Part 1. Okay, in this lecture, we intend to start with a new topic in Intermediate Macroeconomics called consumption theory. Okay, so the reading which I will be referring to for my lectures on consumption theory, this is called Branson, and formally this is chapter 12 of Branson. Okay, so basically in this lecture now we talk about the consumption function. So all students are familiar with the Keynesian consumption function. If you all can recall, the Keynesian consumption function was, you can see on the screen I'm writing, the Keynesian consumption function was C is equal to C bar plus C times Y, where C bar denotes the autonomous consumption. Okay, so C bar denotes the autonomous consumption, and small c denotes the marginal propensity to consume. Okay, this was our Keynesian consumption function. Capital C denotes consumption, C bar denotes autonomous consumption, small c denotes the marginal propensity to consume, which is change in C by change in Y. All of you remember that marginal propensity to consume lies between 0 and 1. Y denotes the nominal income. Okay, so this is how even Branson puts it. Consumption expenditure is simply assumed to be a function of disposable income. Now, disposable income means your income less of taxes. So this is the consumption function you can see on your screen. C is a function of y minus ty. Okay, C is a function of y minus ty, where C denotes the real consumption expenditure, y denotes the real income, and T of y denotes the tax function. Tax itself is a function of real income. So this is the consumption function which you can see on your screens. Consumption is a function of disposable income, which is y minus T of y. And the marginal propensity to consume lies between 0 and 1. So C dash is nothing but the marginal propensity to consume, which lies between 0 and 1. So far it's clear. Then moving forward, let me quickly explain you how the Keynesian short-run consumption function looks like. So you can see this is how the Keynesian short-run consumption function looks like on your screens. This is my autonomous consumption. Slope of this line is nothing but marginal propensity to consume. This is the slope of the consumption function. Okay, so you can clearly see that the Keynesian short-run consumption function plots the real consumption expenditure, which is C, against the real income, which is Y. The slope of the line from the origin to a point on the consumption function gives us average propensity to consume. Now, students, this is very important. You can see I have drawn a line. So if you look at this line, any line I draw from the origin to the consumption function, the slope of that line will be nothing but the average propensity to consume. So guys, if I have to find out what is the slope of this line, in general, all of you know that slope is nothing but tan theta, and tan theta is nothing but perpendicular upon base. So from the origin, suppose I draw a line which is cutting the consumption function at point A, and suppose this is point B on the horizontal axis. Then I can say that slope of the line OA is the perpendicular AB upon the base OB. Now guys, what is AB? AB is nothing but the consumption. And what is OB? OB is nothing but my income. So C by Y is nothing but average propensity to consume. That means what do we learn? From the origin, if I make a line which is cutting the consumption function, the slope of that line is equal to average propensity to consume. So I can say from the diagram that slope of the line OA is nothing but the average propensity to consume. Now guys, what do we see? What do you observe? As you keep on increasing the income, suppose you increase your income, now you had initially you had the line OA, now you have the line OD. So if you clearly see that slope of the line OD is less than slope of the line OA. You can clearly see this on the screen that slope of the line OD is less than slope of the line OA. That means what do we learn? As income increases, average propensity to consume falls. So look at the point I am making. You can see it on the top. As income increases, average propensity to consume, which is C by Y, falls. Why? Because increase in consumption, which is my numerator, is less than the increase in income, which is my denominator. If you look at the expression for average propensity to consume, it is C upon Y. Now, what do you observe? You observe that when income increases, consumption also increases, but less than the increase in income. Why? Because all of you know that income is consumed plus saved. So when income goes up, consumption will go up, but by less than the increase in income. That means as income goes up, numerator is also going up of APC. Denominator is also going up of APC. But increase in the numerator is less than increase in the denominator, which causes the average propensity to consume to fall as income increases. So a new concept which we have learned today, as real income increases, average propensity to consume falls. So we can further read up the explanation. You can see on your screens that the slope of the consumption function itself is marginal propensity to consume. All of you are familiar with MPC, marginal propensity to consume. The above consumption function reflects that as income increases, people tend to save an increasing percentage of their income. What does this line mean? This line means that as income increases, average propensity to save, which is S by Y, increases. That means as income increases, savings increase at an increasing rate. So I can say as income increases, savings increases at an increasing rate. So what do we learn? We learn that as Y increases, APS increases, and as Y increases, APC, which is C by Y, falls. An increase in income causes the average propensity to consume to fall and average propensity to save to rise. Another way of saying it, as income increases, consumption increases at a decreasing rate. As income increases, consumption increases at a decreasing rate, causing the APC to fall. And as income increases, savings increase at an increasing rate, causing the APS to rise. Okay, so I hope all students have understood this explanation. And you can see, guys, since APC is falling, since APC falls as income increases, MPC is further less than APC. Because, guys, what does MPC capture? MPC captures the change in consumption upon the change in income. When we talk about MPC, it captures change in consumption upon change in income. Now, when average propensity to consume is falling, marginal propensity to consume is also falling. And it is even lower than average propensity to consume. So you can, all of you can read this line. If C by Y falls as income increases, then the ratio of increment to C, which is increment to C means delta C, to increment to Y, which is delta Y, that is C dash, where C dash is nothing but your marginal propensity to consume. This is nothing but your marginal propensity to consume must be smaller than C by Y. That is, MPC is less than APC. So if I sum up till here, we have discussed about the Keynesian short-run consumption function. It is a function of your real disposable income, where your real disposable income is your real income minus tax, where tax itself is a function of income. Then we have talked about the trend of APC and MPC. As income increases, average propensity to consume falls, average propensity to save increases. And since average propensity to consume falls as income increases, marginal propensity to consume further falls and is less than average propensity to consume. So I hope so far it's clear. Then we can look at this note. Keynes observed that in the short run, as income falls relative to the recent levels, people will not reduce consumption proportionally to the drop in income, and as income increases, consumption will not rise proportionally. So guys, this is the empirical result which we learned. Keynes had made this observation that in the short run, when income goes up, consumption will not go up proportionately. Why? Because people also save. And similarly, when income goes down, consumption will not go down proportionately. Because when income goes down, people still need to have consumption, so they will not reduce their consumption proportionately. So I again repeat, the note is pointing out that according to Keynes, in the short run, consumption does not move one for one with income. That means an increase in income will cause consumption to increase less than proportionately, and a fall in income will cause consumption to fall but less than proportionately. Then we talk about something called as the stagnation thesis. Okay, so what does the stagnation thesis tell us? So all of us know that we have just done a few minutes back that marginal propensity to consume is less than the average propensity to consume. As income rises, the average propensity to consume C by Y falls. Now, this trend of APC, when income goes up, APC falls. This trend of APC leads to the formation of the stagnation thesis. So if the consumption continues to follow this pattern, if the consumption continues to follow this pattern, then you will see that the ratio of consumption to income would decrease as income grows. Now, to understand this in a better way, all of you know that your demand in the economy comes from consumption, investment, and government expenditure. That means all of you know that Y is equal to C plus I plus G. Currently, we are assuming that the economy is closed, so we do not have net exports in our model. Right now, we assume the economy to be closed, so Y is equal to C plus I plus G. Now, if I divide this equation by Y on both sides, if I divide this equation by Y on both sides, I get 1 is equal to C by Y plus I by Y plus G by Y. So this is our condition for the equilibrium growth of the real output, Y. Now, guys, you can clearly see as economy grows. So I can say that as Y increases, I by Y will anyways rise. That means, guys, I by Y, this term will rise, because all of us know that if the income in the economy grows up, investment further grows up. It causes firms to do more investment. So I by Y increases as Y increases. Okay. Now understand this. As Y increases, I by Y increases, C by Y falls. We have just done this a few minutes back. As Y increases, C by Y falls. Now, guys, I by Y is rising, C by Y is falling. So that means for the growth to happen in the economy, G by Y should increase. For the growth to happen, G by Y should increase. So you can see, since I by Y will anyways rise as the economy grows, thus G by Y must increase to balance the C by Y drop to maintain the full employment demand as income grows. So the whole point is trying to indicate what? The whole point is trying to indicate that as income grows, investment in the economy grows, but on the other hand, consumption in the economy increases by less than the increase in income. That means, guys, C by Y is falling. Now, for this equation to be restored, if C by Y is falling, G by Y should rise. And when I say that G by Y should rise, it means increase in G should be more than increase in Y. That means government spending should increase. Government spending should increase at a faster rate than income. Because if that does not happen, the economy will stagnate. So stagnation thesis is telling you what? Stagnation thesis is telling you that as income increases, no doubt investment increases, but as income increases, C by Y drops. So this drop in C by Y must be balanced by increase in G by Y so that the economy continues to grow. That means, in order to prevent stagnation, look at the sentence I'm speaking. In order to prevent stagnation, government expenditure should increase, but at a higher rate than the increase in income, so that the whole G by Y term increases, which balances the C by Y drop. Basically, the crux line is this: G by Y must increase to balance the C by Y drop to maintain the full employment demand as Y grows. So if the government spending does not increase faster than the income, then the economy will eventually stagnate. Why will it stagnate? Because as income will increase, C by Y will continue to drop. So to balance that C by Y drop, G should increase faster than Y so that the whole G by Y rises, which balances the C by Y drop. So I hope all students have understood the stagnation thesis. Okay, now let's talk about the consumption behavior as analyzed by Simon Kuznets. So Simon Kuznets analysis of the consumption behavior. So in 1946, Kuznets published a study of consumption and savings behavior, and he pointed out two important observations about the consumption behavior. So these are the observations, important observations observed by Kuznets. Important observations by Kuznets on the consumption function. So the first observation is that on an average, over the long run, the ratio of consumption to income, that is C by Y or APC, showed no downward trend. That means, guys, when we talk about short run, in the short run, we just discussed that as income increases, consumption to income ratio or APC falls. But Kuznets observed that this pattern of APC will not hold true in the long run. In the long run, he observed that APC will remain fairly constant as income grew. And since APC remains constant, MPC is equal to APC. This means that according to Kuznets, in the long run, I repeat, in the long run, the consumption function will be a straight line passing through the origin. Because if you draw a straight line through the origin, that means, guys, APC is a constant. If you look at a consumption function like this, which you can see a small diagram I'm drawing above, if my consumption function is like this, a line passing through the origin, then this consumption function will have average propensity to consume exactly equal to marginal propensity to consume. And this consumption function will be called, according to Kuznets, the long run consumption function. So this will be called, I am writing it again, this will be called the long run consumption function. So that means the Keynesian consumption function is a short run consumption function which tells us that as income increases, average propensity to consume falls and MPC lies even below APC. But what do we learn in the long run? In the long run, average propensity to consume is constant with respect to income. That means as income grows, in the long run, average propensity to consume does not show any downward trend. It is fairly constant. And since in the long run, average propensity to consume is fairly constant, it is exactly equal to marginal propensity to consume. So I hope all students have understood this, and I can show you this through an example as well. So let me try to build an example to further explain this. Now guys, suppose my income is 100 and suppose my consumption is 80. Clear? And now suppose my income increases to 200. Suppose my income increases to 200 and my consumption increases to, suppose, 160. Suppose my consumption increases to 160. Now guys, if you look at the APC here, APC here is how much? 80 by 100, which is 0.8. What is my APC here? 160 by 200, which is 0.8. And what you can see, my APC is constant. And you can see if APC is constant, what will MPC be? MPC, I can calculate MPC somewhere here so that it's more clear to you. So I'm erasing the diagram now. And I am now calculating for all of you the MPC for this example. So guys, for this example, MPC will be nothing but change in C by change in Y. Change in C is 160 minus 80 upon change in Y is 200 minus 100. Now this comes out as 80 by 100, which is how much? 0.8. So what do you learn from this example? If APC is constant, you can see as income increases, APC is constant. This will happen only in the long run according to Kuznets. As income increases, you can see APC is constant and it's exactly equal to MPC. That means, guys, what we learn is that the long run consumption function will be a straight line passing through the origin. And now let's look at the second point. The second point tells us that Kuznets studies suggested that years when the C by Y ratio was below the long run average occurred during the boom periods, because in the boom period, people prefer to work more and save more. In the boom period, since it was empirically observed that in the boom period, savings was high. That means in the boom period, the consumption to income ratio was below the long run average. People were saving more. And the years with the C by Y ratio above the average occurred during the periods of slump. So what do we learn from this point? During the boom period, people would prefer to work and save more, thus causing the C by Y ratio to be below the long run average. And during the slump or the recession period, people would prefer to have more consumption. So the C by Y ratio would be above the long run average. Obviously, during the recession period, people would not be having enough resources to save. When everything in the economy is on a downfall, you would want to keep your consumption high. Whereas during the boom period, when everything is on a high, you would want to work and save more. So another thing which Kuznets pointed out was that the C by Y ratio varied inversely with income during the cyclic fluctuations. So if I sum up this point, during the boom period, the C by Y ratio will be below the long run average C by Y ratio, and during the slump period, the C by Y ratio would be higher than the long run average. Long run average, I can say long run average C by Y. So I hope all students have understood both these points. Okay. The first point is trying to highlight that in the long run, the consumption function is going to be a straight line through the origin. That means in the long run, average and marginal propensity to consume will exactly be the same. The second point which Kuznets is highlighting is that the C by Y ratio will be below the long run average during periods of boom, and the C by Y ratio will be above the long run average during periods of economic slump. Now, all this was observed empirically, and the results are which you can see on your screen. Now you can see I've drawn a diagram in the lecture where it talks about the relationship between the short run and the long run consumption function. You can clearly see that I have drawn many short run consumption functions which are flatter. The long run consumption function is relatively steeper and is passing through the origin. So guys, we are summarizing what we have done so far. And after this summary, I intend to finish this lecture. So if I summarize what we have learned, the first point we have learned is that cross-sectional budget studies show that S by Y increases as income increases, where S by Y is nothing but the average propensity to save. Okay, so that in the cross sections of the population, MPC is less than APC. First of all of you should know what's a cross sectional study and what is a time series study. Whenever we do any type of research, it can be cross sectional or it can be based on time series. Okay, so when we do time series, we are looking at the trend of a variable with respect to time. Okay, but when we look at cross-sectional study is a type of observational study where you look at any particular variable at a point of time. So in cross-sectional studies, there is no role of time. You are looking at a variable at a particular point of time. But if you look at a variable over a period of time, that becomes time series. So the analysis which we have formed in this lecture is all based on cross-sectional. We are looking at consumption and income at a point of time. So what we have learned is that as income increases, C by Y falls and S by Y goes up, which implies that my marginal propensity to consume is less than the average propensity to consume. The second point which we learn here, which I am presenting to all of you, that the short run data shows that C by Y is smaller than the long run average during boom periods and greater than the long run average during periods of economic slump. So that in the short run, as Y fluctuates, MPC is less than APC. All the first point and the second point, both are trying to indirectly point out that MPC will be less than APC. Both are trying to highlight the same point. The first point is also telling us the same thing, that as income increases in a cross-sectional study, C by Y rises and S by Y falls. That means MPC is less than APC. The second point is also telling us that during periods of economic boom, C by Y is smaller than the long run average. During periods of economic slump, C by Y is higher than the long run average. So this means that in the short run, as income fluctuates, marginal propensity to consume will be less than the average propensity to consume. And the final point which we conclude in this lecture, that the long run trend data as observed by Simon-Kuznets shows no tendency for C by Y ratio to change over long run. So that in the long run, as income grows, MPC is equal to APC. So what we learn is that in the short run, as income increases, APC falls and MPC is less than APC. This was pointed out by Keynes, and in the long run pointed out by Kuznets. As income increases, APC is constant and MPC is exactly equal to APC. MPC is exactly equal to APC. So guys, this is where I intend to stop in this lecture. We have talked about the Keynesian consumption function, the Kuznets consumption function, that means the short run and the long run consumption function, the behavior of average propensity to consume and marginal propensity to consume. Okay, so I hope all students have enjoyed this lecture. Now in the next lecture, we will be primarily looking at the intertemporal model of consumption. Please note that the intertemporal model we have done in intermediate microeconomics also. We have covered this model in intermediate microeconomics, so it's going to be a revision for all the students again. So we'll start from the basic model of consumption behavior in the next lecture of consumption theory. So this is where I stop. I hope all students have enjoyed the lecture. Any doubt, you can unmute your mic and ask, or call up or mail me your doubts at divineschoolofeconomics@gmail.com. So this is where I